Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So when it comes to the car market, just know that you, the buyer, the consumer, are certainly in the driver's seat right now. Supply has far exceeded demand, and well, that positions you very well to go get an exceptional deal in your next vehicle. In today's video in particular, I'm going to give you the top 5 mistakes to avoid making when you go buy your next vehicle. I'm purposely going to leave the one mistake that I personally have made a few times, and really I regret doing so. So stick with me till the end. Hear me out. We got a St. Patty's Day feature of Peanut and May May?
And Diaper Boy!
We're not going to show Diaper Boy. And we got Bugaboo over there. Nice. Buggy wanted to show his St. Patty's Day flair. Let's see a good shot. Ooh, nice. So in no particular order, the first mistake that I see a lot of people making when they buy a new vehicle is they try to shop payments. They shop payments over the sale price of the vehicle. That is a huge mistake. And salesmen, they start licking their chops when they learn that you're trying to shop for a payment. Hey, I want to keep my payment underneath $500 a month. They love hearing that because they can finagle the numbers, extend the loan, and insert their protection packages, squeak that in on you, and still keep it within your payment threshold that you're looking for. Never do that because you're ultimately going to still spend more on your vehicle than what you should be. So always go in there and shop the sale price of the vehicle. That final out the door figure is what you're most interested in. By doing that, what are you ultimately doing? When you get that sale price down to a certain figure and get that figure to where you want it to be, you're ultimately impacting what those monthly payments are going to be. Really, it's just going to be a matter of how long do you want that loan term to be? Do you want it to be 60 months, 72 months, you name it. That's ultimately going to impact that monthly payment. I'm going to hurt a lot of feelings by this next mistake. The second biggest mistake that I still see people making to this day is being a cash buyer. Hey, I'm offering you $35,000 cash for your Toyota Tacoma there. That does no good when you go into a dealership in particular. Of course, if you're buying private party, cash is king for sure, but buying from a dealership, cash is no longer king, and let me explain to you why. When you go in there and buy a vehicle and you negotiate a price tag, the dealership will actually get a kickback, a small kickback from the financing institution. So the bank, the preferred lender that bank goes to, they're going to get a kickback. It could be as small as $250, but generally it's right around $1,000 plus kickback from that financing institution. It really depends on how big the loan is and what that interest rate ends up being. But never go into a dealership and try to offer cash thinking that it's going to help your cause. And in fact, when you negotiate that figure, you get them down to a certain price point, then I suggest offering, hey, if you take just a little bit less, I'd be willing to finance through the dealership. And generally speaking, they tend to accept that. The third biggest mistake that I see people fall for often is they end up paying for these bogus fees, these bogus overpriced add-ons on the vehicle, whether it's a clear bra, window tint, dent repair, these protection packages, extended warranties, you name it, these things that the dealership will use to nickel and dime you. Their finance department will really try their best to make you pay for an extended warranty of some sort. Just know that those protection plans and those extended warranties are wildly overpriced. They're inflated in nature. So when you're buying it and they're trying to sell it to you for $1,500, just know that it really costs probably around $500. They have a huge markup on it, a huge profit margin. So just know that I always deny them. I always say no to all those protection packages. I always say no to all the extended warranties because generally you can go straight to the source after the fact, after you buy the vehicle, and still buy those protection packages. You can still buy that dent repair protection package, or the windshield chip repair package. You can buy it all separately, straight from the source, and not deal with those inflated price tags from the dealership. And let me pause for a minute on doc fees. Documentation fees have gotten completely out of hand. Many dealerships use this as a free cash grab from their customers. I've seen doc fees go as high as $799 and $899. $900 for a documentation fee. Just saying that out loud feels completely disgusting, but dealerships do it. It's a free way to nickel and dime their customers, and oftentimes they pretend like they have no choice. Oh, that's our set doc fee. You know, unfortunately, everybody pays it. You know, that's just what we do here. Unfortunately, you know, they kind of play along with you like, oh yeah, I know it sucks, but everybody pays it. Wrong. You do not have to pay that. Say, no, I'd be willing to make a deal if you get rid of that bogus doc fee, or bring it down to a realistic doc fee. The realistic price point, the highest realistic price point to ever consider paying for a doc fee, I would argue is $299. That's the highest that I would pay while not feeling terrible about it. But really, I try my best to get rid of those doc fees every time I buy a new vehicle. And if it means making a deal happen, if it's the make or break, and the dealership knows that you're willing to walk on it, they'll get rid of it. And just be on the lookout for the inflated price tags on things like window tint, clear bra, like a clear mask up front. For a clear bra in particular, if it goes partially up the hood, just know that you should be spending no more than $500 for that. But oftentimes dealerships will try to get you for $1,000 or $1,200, which is insane. Same goes for window tint. If you see window tint priced on a vehicle, if it is anything more than $500 for the whole vehicle window tint, refuse to pay that and get them down to be within that threshold. And never ever pay for nitrogen filled tires. I've seen some dealers try to deploy $300, $400, $500 for nitrogen filled tires. Do not fall for that gimmick. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now the fourth biggest mistake, and this is arguably the biggest mistake that I've seen people make, is one that I think can save you the most amount of money. A lot of people nowadays seemingly are afraid to shop around. Shop around in general, let alone willing to travel a little bit to buy a vehicle. To me, it always felt like a no-brainer. If it meant saving thousands of dollars on the vehicle that I'm trying to buy, I would absolutely drive several hours to go get it. I mean, you're only driving it once to go get it. Why not? You know, heaven forbid you buy a one-way plane ticket too, to the nearest airport to the dealership you're trying to buy from. And 9 times out of 10, in my experience anyway, that dealership will send a sales rep to go pick you up from the airport. So that's been my experience. I mean, if it means selling you a vehicle, they're willing to send somebody to come help you out, make it a positive experience, right? So I encourage you to shop around. Personally, I like to look nationwide. Generally speaking, the vehicles that I'm trying to buy are a little bit more niche, a little bit more higher trimmed, and they're not just the run-of-the-mill vehicle. So I feel like I have to look nationwide. But at least look 1 or 2 states over. Look a couple states over, make a lot of phone calls to dealerships, get deals and offers in writing, their lowest price in writing, then bring those offers to your local dealerships and say, hey, you know, this is a couple states over, they're willing to do this much on this Chevy Silverado, are you willing to beat it? And specifically ask them to beat it. Don't ask them to match it, ask them to beat it, and in my experience, they generally do. They'll generally beat it by $500 or $1,000 if it means earning your business and keeping your business local, which a lot of people want to do. So all this to say, don't be afraid to shop around. Shopping around, spending one afternoon making a bunch of phone calls to dealerships will save you thousands, and don't be afraid to travel. Now the fifth and final biggest mistake that I see people make, and a mistake that I personally have made far too many times, is failing to bring your own pre-approval to the dealership. And like I mentioned earlier, you can still finance through the dealership, and I encourage you to do so because generally speaking, you can get a little bit more of a discount. You negotiate a price tag and say, hey, if you're willing to come down just $1,000 more, I'd be willing to finance through the dealership. And in my experience, they generally do that because they get that kickback like we talked about. You can still do that, but bring your pre-approval from a federal credit union, a local credit union, bring it to the dealership. That way they know what you're approved at from a credit union, and you ask them to beat it. So they already have that in writing. And I have seen and heard a lot of testimonials from people when they do that, the dealerships get really, really close to matching that credit union pre-approval. Whereas if you don't come in there with anything, you come in there empty-handed, well, you're kind of out of luck a little bit. You're kind of at the whim of the dealership and the best that they can do. So before I wrap up the video here, I'll throw in one more bonus mistake to avoid making, and that is do not be afraid to walk away. I can tell you with full confidence, if you go in there and negotiate a deal of some sort and actually walk away before signing on that dotted line, I assure you that that dealership, especially right now with supply being the way it is, that dealership will be quick to call you within like 30 minutes later that day, or perhaps the latest the next day, trying to get an even better deal for you if it meant making it happen. So don't be afraid to walk away. That can save you a tremendous amount of money. Don't feel like if you walk away the deal is going to be gone, because I assure you it will not be. They want to move that inventory, and really dealerships have no choice but to move that inventory right now. They need to move this metal, otherwise they're going to find themselves in a very sticky position. So I'll wrap up the video there, guys. Let me know what I missed. You know, those are just kind of 5 notable mistakes that I have personally seen and witnessed and felt on my own behalf. Let me know what I missed though. As always, I do sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune in these videos. It means a lot, guys. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing if you found any value in this type of content. As always, guys, appreciate you watching. Till next time.